Fun series. So everybody, this is my dear friend Haley. I've known you now for about a decade, right?
Yeah.
We both were formerly on ABC Family
Yeah.
and shooting in good old Santa Clarita Studios. And Haley is an incredible actress, activist. Can we share your news? I guess we can because it was on social media. You want to let the people know because this is amazing.
So I have been Mary Claire's curve columnist since 2017, which I am now taking on as their contributing fashion and well-being editor, which means that I am launching their well-being division. So it's all very exciting and new, but a great space for me to be a part of.
It's so incredible and so you. I just I love your brand and everything you stand for. And obviously we're going to get into it, but I wanted to just start with obviously a bullying question because this whole series started due to Buddha bullying. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your bullying experiences and how you've combated them, because I know you have so many incredible ways of doing so, and what advice you'd give to people who are dealing with bullying, I guess, in any form it may be.
You know, I obviously dealt with bullying as a teenager and probably even before my teens. And I would say I started dealing with bullying maybe in like third, fourth grade.
Yeah.
You know, I was always sort of put down for my figure. And when you're that age, you don't really understand it. You know, you're not really looking at your body as being something that's different than the next person. You know, no one really teaches you that you're supposed to look differently than your peers. You're supposed to develop at a different time than your peers. You come from two different parents. I mean, it's a whole different genetic background. And you don't get taught that in school. So when you go to school and you're in the same grade as somebody who had the same birthday and you're maybe in the same month of that birthday, you're like, well, why don't I look like her? Why am I not developing like her? Or why am I not, you know, why is she so much more advanced? Or why am I more advanced? And you don't understand why you don't look like the person next to you. So I understand why maybe people bullied me back then because I was this very vivacious, curvy girl. I was always loud and proud. I had no terms about it. Like, I mean, my mom used to say that when I walked into class, school started because I would come in and I'd be like, hi! And
that is still how you feel whenever I talk to you.
Yeah, 100%. I was never, ever afraid of it. And I always wanted to be unique and I always wanted to be different. Like, for example, for Halloween one year, I was Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc. Like,
shut up.
Like, I literally, and then another year, like, I had to
You're the coolest girl ever.
I went to Disneyland and I had to be like a Disney bride. And I like made my dad find a way to get me the freaking veil that the Disney bride had. But it was just an example to show that, like, I always wanted to be unique. I always wanted to be different. I never wanted to have anything that was similar to anybody else. So when I was bullied for being a different size than other kids, that was really difficult for me. But I also kind of combated it with going like, okay, well, this is who I am. And I've always sort of had that effort attitude when it came to it. Of course, behind closed doors, it was really hard to process. I mean, I remember one experience where my mom took me to Cotillion. I don't know if you know Cotillion lessons.
Yes.
So I went to Cotillion when I was, I must have been, 10, 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the boys didn't want to dance with me because they were like, we don't want to dance with the fat girl. And I stormed out of class and I went up to my mom and I said, I'm not going back there again. You can't make me. And she was like, why? And I was like, because they don't want to deal with the fat girl. And I was just like, you know, it hit me in different places because of not feeling like I was enough or worthy because of my figure. And then when I was in swim, I was in swim for years, way advanced into my age. And I used to get teased by the girls in swim in the dressing room because I had a bust, like more developed than the person next to me who was a lot older than me. I was wearing a bra before somebody that maybe had been 2 or 3 years older than me. So I was teased for that.
Which I wanted to be able to wear a bra sooner. We all have our things. I was like, come on.
I know, it is. We all have our things. And so it's just
now I don't. I try to take this thing off whenever I can. But.
It reminds you that the things that we were bullied for when you were younger were actually your strengths. The things that you were bullied for when you were younger or confused about, if you would have just owned up to them and said, you know what, your opinion is your opinion, and I'm going to continue on my journey, you would have had a bigger understanding that that person's hurting and doesn't understand exactly what they are saying. hurt people hurt other people.
Exactly.
That is something that we all know. It is case study by case study. So at the end of the day, bullying, especially for somebody who's under the age of 20 that's just developing, and the bullying really comes from outside sources, is just because they're confused as to why you are the way that you are and don't know how to articulate that in a upscale kind of way. And that's fine. You know, people should do whatever they need to do in their lives to be able to get to that place. But it's just about remembering that you have the power to protect your heart, and you have the power of how you are receiving that bullying.
Right. I think words, no matter what anyone says, yes, there are very different personality types, but they're always going to hurt. However, I feel like you probably experienced this, but I do feel like when you really own all that you are and you're just like, you know, at a young age, I don't care. This is me. I am different. I am beautiful, and I accept myself, which is so rare and so incredible. I feel like people do treat you a little differently, because I know people who have gone through, you know, some of the things that you're expressing, and it took them down very dark paths at a very young age and completely cut them off from, you know, certain social experiences and friends, and, you know, because they allowed it to get to them. And of course, it's always going to affect you in some way, but I feel like I love what you're saying, because it really goes to show how much you allow it to affect you, or the difference between people who allow it to affect them and or just like, no, because people can sense that.
You know, there were still things that I've dealt with growing up, but I don't know if it was necessarily because of bullying. Like,
right.
I've dealt with, you know, social anxieties because of my weight. I've dealt with not wanting to eat at school because I didn't want people to categorize me with food. I mean, I dealt with a lot of things that came with my own perception of my body image. But I think that was sort of my progression with understanding who I was, like every single girl sort of goes through, of understanding how to understand their body and how to love it and how to accept it. I don't think it had to do with bullying. I really don't, because I really believe that if you have a strong support system around you that reminds you that you are worthy, the person that you are, the kindness of your heart is worthy enough. The outside chatter, yes, it can get really loud, but you need to be able to find somewhere to find that peace. So whether that's finding that, you know, at your family home after you go from school, or whether that's finding friends that go to a different school that may see that beauty within you, or finding that community online, because we have this availability now where you're able to relate to somebody that may be in a completely different country who completely gets you and thinks you are the apple to his eye. You know, there is people out there who will find the beauty in you. You just need to find them.
And I think you're the perfect example, because everything you had gone through, I mean, you've turned it around and you champion women like no other. I mean, you've helped me. I remember when I went on Redefine You, we had that pre-chat. Yeah. Haley, I felt like 10 pounds lifted off, I could cry, lifted off my shoulders. You know, I was like going in even more in that pre-conversation, because there are things I never talked about out loud, really, because I'm usually the one in this position. And when we got on the live, I was almost a little more immune to these things that I was saying. But I just find it so incredible how you champion women and men, people, to just love, self-love, acceptance, you know, just changing the narrative, and especially when it comes to our bodies, because I feel like that's something I've just struggled a lot with, especially, you know, in the industry we're in, and having people that have these expectations of you. And I was saying on Redefine You, it's really hard when you've played certain characters and then people expect you to always look this way, but we're only human and we're going to have our ups and our downs. And I remember you saying this specifically, and it stuck with me, just like, your body is your vessel. It's what's keeping you alive in this place. Treat it well. Stop thinking of it as this, I don't know. I mean, of course you want to think of it as a trophy. You want your body to feel great, but like, it's what's keeping you alive. And the most important thing is being healthy. And I just love how you've turned certain things that you've, you know, gone through in your life into such a positive, and everything you stand for to me is just so incredible. And you truly helped me so much that day. That's why I was so excited to have you on, because I wanted you to, you know, inspire other women and men that are going through what I was going through, what I've dealt with. Which brings me to, okay, so this is, I have a bunch of questions that this brings me to.
Jeffy, I completely lost you for like a good like minute.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay because I didn't lose you on my end, so I don't think the recording went out. I think we're still good. I didn't lose you on my end.
Okay. No, go on. What were you saying? That's all I wanted to know.
I was just saying how much I appreciated everything we spoke about that day and how much you truly helped me. And that's why I wanted you to come on here so badly, because I wanted other people to have that privilege of just hearing your advice. And you just exude so much love, and you make other people want to embody all of the things that you are, which is confidence and acceptance and love and light. Like, truly, it helped me so much that day, is what I was saying. So I hope we're still on and you can hear me still, because you deserve to hear that.
No, and I want to say thank you so much for saying all those beautiful words, and just remembering that your vulnerability is the most beautiful thing that you could ever have.
Yeah.
And having a conversation with you kind of was an eye-opener for me as well, though, because I think I forget how much damage our industry can actually do to us in some case, and how much we can feel like we are defined by what we look like and the talent that we have in that moment, rather than all of the layers that we have come to.
Yeah.
You know, I speak openly about how our bodies don't define us, and I truthfully believe that. I truthfully 100,000% believe it, and I live that. And
you help me believe it, because you do live it, and you make other people feel that.
It's just about remembering that the person that you are is what people will be left with.
Mm-hmm.
A picture of who you are is not only going to stand for a moment, but the person and the feeling that you give somebody is what you will be left with. And that's where people need to start remembering that if you want to create those milestones, or you want to accomplish that dream job, those moments are only going to come if you have security within who you are and are taking ownership by saying, I love all that I am. Whether or not I'm going to be all that you want me to be, I know that I'm all that I am, to be able to walk into this room and give it my all. If you don't have that sense of security, then walking into a new room with different outside energies is going to make you start to judge who you are and think that they're in the superior, when in fact you are just as much in that superior, because taking ownership for who you are and saying, I love me, needs to come before anybody else can love you as well.
Yeah.
It's just this importance and understanding that we're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days. It's only human. We're going to always be ever evolving. If we remember to look at our bodies as a vessel, like I said before, it is about remembering our bodies are going to grow.
That's what I was saying when you froze, I think. It was the vessel. The body being the vessel. Love that.
But I'm just
so
saying,
much more important.
You forget our bodies are going to grow. We have no choice. I'm so sorry. You're aging today.
They're going to grow. It's going to happen, people.
It's going to happen.
Love it at every state.
Our bodies are going to change, right? So you may love the person that you were 5 years ago. That's great. Honey, you're not going to be that person again. So let's remember that you can take with the things that you loved about that person and apply it to the person that you are today, with all of these new lessons and knowledge from all the mistakes or lessons that you've gained from those years. I think we just need to start to remember that our bodies are giving us so much more than just the physicality of it.
Right.
We shouldn't necessarily categorize our strength or our beauty because of the way that we think we're fit or we're toned. But instead changing the narrative, changing the conversation. Like stretch marks, for instance, are such a beautiful thing if you look at it that way. It reminds you of all that you've gone through and all you are going to, that our bodies are growing every single year. A birthday is not just a birthday. It's rebirthing yourself into new awakenings. Yeah. And if you can look at your stretch marks or your cellulites or your scars as a map, it is a beautiful thing that you will then come to realization that, you know what, actually the person who can see all these scars or the stretch marks or that you share all these things with are going to go, wow, look at all that she's been through. All that she's gone through and how she's still standing.
The more you've gone through in life, the more people who I've met who have really gone through it are the most simultaneously gentle and strongest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
There's just so much to be learned from people who have lived, who have gone through things mentally, physically. It is so beautiful. And it's about changing the narrative and changing the way we view this, you know, the perspective, and the fact that a lot of people see it, you know, view it as shame. And I hate that, because I've done it. I've done it with whatever on my body. I've shamed myself for gaining weight or for having a stretch mark or whatever it may be. And it's like, dude, you're only human. This is to myself, dude, you're only human. And I just love how much that you know, I love how much you talk about this and how much you champion it. And I think it's so important. We've talked about the acting industry, and I've expressed, I don't know if you heard when it froze, just the pressure of people knowing you as this specific character and maybe what your body looked like as 18-year-old so-and-so, and then feeling this like you need to continuously prove that you are still that person. But why? Like, I don't want to be who I was at 18. I'm way happier the woman I am at 30, like how far I've come. And that should transcend into our bodies. It shouldn't just be, oh, I'm so proud of what I've gone through mentally and with relationships, or maybe the spiritual journey and where I'm at now. We should be like, look how much our bodies have gone through, and we're here and we're strong and we're, you know, living this life. And I really love that you brought that to life for me, because I stopped thinking of that.
You know, it's about evolution. You know, I think I spoke about this today on my Redefine You, a conversation for well-being, with Allie Tate, who was the first ever Victoria's Secret curve model. And, you know, Allie came to me at one point in her career when after she came out with obviously being the first curve model for Victoria's Secret, she came to me and said, Haley, I've never dealt with media. Can you kind of help me through this? And I said, yeah, of course, because I've kind of, you know, been born into the industry. I've sort of understood how media plays a totally separate part to our industry. And a lot of it was coming by the fact of that she said comments about body image years ago that have now been brought up to light. And she said, you know, my reflect back to it was talking about how people need to be more calm with my evolution as a person. Yeah. So it's about changing the narrative for the people that follow you and your industry, for instance, right? So it's like changing your narrative for the people who follow you, who think that you should still have that body as an 18-year-old, by saying, guys, I completely respect that was a loved character that I played. I loved her too, but I've evolved as a human, and I want you to evolve with me and my career, because over time you're going to evolve as an actress. You know, you're going to start doing many different projects here, there, whatever, and that's what you want ideally. It's
absolutely. I'm loving these new older characters I've been auditioning for prior to the quarantine. I had a therapist, I auditioned for an attorney. I'm like, woo, this is badass. But it's about embracing it, because at first I would see these things, I would see these auditions and be like, oh my God, it's not the college girl. Yeah. But how cool is this?
Yeah.
If I were to book this character, this is someone who's been through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, has lived a longer life, and it's more of a fruitful, exciting character to play. So it's really about switching up the narrative and you know, and embracing where we're at, opposed to looking in the past. You know what I mean? And that's something I'm preaching to myself, because I think just the entertainment industry specifically makes that very hard. There's this whole thing about age, but honestly, some of my favorite actresses and their favorite roles, I mean, it varies. It varies.
Because I'm curved. So it was like this whole thing of like, I can't wait where I can be categorized as like Christina Hendricks. Because Christina Hendricks was voluptuous and curvy and beautiful, but she was only allowed to play that kind of character because she was of an age where men thought that was sexy and attractive. When I was curvy and beautiful and I was, you know, 17, 18 years old, I couldn't play the lead role because I was still curvy. But then I couldn't play the best friend who was bullied because I was too pretty. So it's like, you know, I was waiting for this time. I'm like, I'm so excited. Give me the model. You know, give me, like, because my body will allow me to play that kind of role. And there'll be more roles that will obviously open up those doors and gives us more possibilities to not be so pointed with one idea of what your beauty is.
Absolutely. And I just to end this off, I will say that I feel the same way, because for so long I felt as though, and I was told that I wasn't booking certain roles, or I was only booking like the cheerleader or like, you know, the bratty blonde, whatever, because I wasn't old enough and I was too sexy. I got this a lot, like just what I exuded in my confidence and my sexual confidence at a young age to play whatever the other characters were, just, you know, your average college girl. Or so I do feel like, you know, everybody's got their time to shine. Actually, your time to shine is, there's always going to be something for you, but it's just, yeah, it's embracing it. And I love the fact that both of us are coming into this place where this is exciting for us as women. And there are so many incredible roles that I feel like just will suit you and I so well. I'm excited.
Anybody who's watching as well, just remember that acting is from life experiences, right? So even if your time's not now, even if that's 5 years down the line, remember that you are more prepared than you were today, because you're going to have so many more life experiences.
5 years more prepared.
Knowledge that you can bring into those characters. And that's what I've had to remind myself, because I've gone on a completely different path from acting for a couple years.
Yeah.
And every time I've gone back into it, I'm like, oh, I wish I was one of those girls who was sitting in LA and did 17 acting classes and, you know, went off to every audition. And then I look back and I'm like, Haley, stop it.
Like, just travel all over the world. You are Marie Claire's whatever.
These lessons to be able to be prepared is traveling and living a fabulous life to bring back into my craft. Absolutely. And I think we have different waves of it. You know, you just have to remember that your time will come, but with many things in art, you're living the life that you can bring back into it. So there's a lot of positives with waiting.
Absolutely. I think people think of acting as like, we compartmentalize all of it. Like, we have to do this by this age, and we have to do this amount of classes with this coach, and I want my resume to look like this, and we compare like, oh, that girl that does all the classes, but that's not like, of course, hey, it's always good to take classes. I love classes. I'm not saying I don't, but the best class you will ever take is experience. I tried to mute this. I don't know how to do it. I'm not tech savvy. It is experience, and it's, like you said, I mean, acting to me is just psychology. It's just understanding people, and the more people you meet in your life and the more you go through pain, the beauty, the travel, the different cultured people that you get to meet is only bettering you as an actress, or actor, 100%. So I love that you brought that up, because I hate that we define ourselves as actors in like categories, stereotypes. It infuriates me. And ages, like, screw that, because some of the best acting I've seen, and women winning Oscars and men winning Oscars, are doing it in their 50s, 60s, 70s. It doesn't matter. There's no timeline. And I'm saying that for myself because I needed to today. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. And I also wanted you to bring up, I wanted you to explain, because I loved it, what the practice or the exercise you do with the models on, is it Good Morning America, right? Yeah. Which is another thing you do. You do everything. It's amazing. I wanted you to explain that, because I think it's so cool.
So I'm Straight Hand Sarah and Kiki, style contributor for Good Morning America. And I also work for This Morning, which is an ITV fashion, it's an ITV morning show in the UK, but I work for fashion over there as well. And we work with, well, I would say this exercise sort of started with This Morning, because with This Morning, we get, you know, about 5 to 6 different models. Most of the models that we bring in are obviously real people, age ranging from 20 all the way up to 70, many of which have dealt with a medical condition that has made them gain weight. So it's about rejudging their mindset to understand the beauty that their body gives them, and also being able to build confidence through fashion, because there's such power in it. Once you have a good outfit on, I'm telling you, it changes people's and their body image and their self-worth. So before we go live, it's a bit difficult. You know, there's only 5 to 10 minutes when you're actually live. So it's the 5 hours before that you work with the models. You want to be able to prep them so they feel confident and comfortable to be able to go out live. That's a scary thing for anybody. Absolutely. And especially, we've had many different segments that have been either shapewear driven or bikini driven or swimwear driven. So we're taking them to do very vulnerable things on camera for the first time live while coming out there and knowing that their bigger purpose was to come out there today to be able to talk about their medical condition that then can hopefully relate to somebody that's watching at home. For example, we've had a woman who had a catheter, and she wanted to be able to find a great swimwear with a cover-up piece that she could go and be on the beach with her son and not feel like people were looking at her because of her catheter, that people were just looking at her because of her. Mm-hmm. So we put together a beautiful outfit for her that made her feel comfortable and confident. But the point being is, most of the times that we are going out on live, I just want to make sure these girls feel like they're supported and welcomed with me. So I'll come out in a bikini, or I'll come out in my bra and my underwear, and we'll do a challenge really quickly just before they go out. I'll stand there and I'll say, tell me everything that you hate about my body. And then I'll say, tell me everything that you love about my body. And most times, 10 out of 10, they'll say things that they love about my body and not that they hate about my body. But then I remind them that my body is just like their body. I have stretch marks, I have cellulite, my body may even be a bigger size than them, and that I still have so much more to give. So it makes them reflect back into their own bodies and realizing that, you know what, wow, okay, I love my body as well. If I can look at somebody else's imperfections as perfections, why can't I look at my imperfections as perfections? Now, this is a mirror challenge I don't do on every occasion, obviously, I'll do this morning or with GMA, because I think a lot of the times it's just about having a conversation with them about figuring out where they are. A lot of the times with Strayhand, Sarah, and Kiki, when I do my makeovers, I'll sit down with them and just speak about their past that's brought them to their present. Because although the segment may be a little bit more about body image and trying to have them feel comfortable within fashion because of their figure, all of those opinions of themselves really stem from their past. So it's about having them recognize if these opinions are coming from themselves, truly themselves, or outside sources. So is this becoming because of society standards? Is this somebody that an ex-boyfriend has said to you? Is this maybe something that your family has put on you? You want to be able to recognize that so then you can start to have an honest, truthful, authentic opinion about who you are. Right. Sometimes, if I have the chance, it's much more powerful and I much more enjoy it to be able to sit down and have a meaningful conversation with them about their past that's brought them to their present.
Right. I love that you do this as well, because I feel like people don't usually know really the depths of why they feel so overwhelmingly insecure or sad or literally sad or shamed in certain outfits or because of their bodies. And when you do the work and you go within and you dig back and you really think, I mean, I can name experiences that I've had right now just in the industry or whatever it may be. It's usually because of something you've been through and something someone has told you or something, some type of comparison you've made, or that person booked it and I didn't. It can even be your own mind assuming because she's a size 0 and I'm a whatever, I think doing that work is so important, because once we throw that in the trash and let go of whatever anyone else has put on us or made us feel, that self-love and that acceptance is so important moving forward. And it's just, I never really, until you explained this to me, thought about it myself, the reasons why I'm insecure about certain things. And going back, remembering why, saying screw that.
Or screw them.
This person or this industry do this to me, because at the end of the day, we're just all humans. And we all have, our things and the things. And I also love that you do this because it shows everybody that you're not alone. And that's my biggest thing always, period. I think when we feel isolated or alienated in any way is when we slip off and we experience extreme anxieties or depressions because you feel alone in whatever it is you may be experiencing mentally or physically. So I love that you go out and you do this experiment or, exercise, I should say. Because it just shows everybody that, we're all in this together. Everyone, I don't think there's one person in this world, no matter who you think it is, that hasn't had a moment where they've looked in the mirror and thought, oh, I wish this was a little different. But it's just about accepting it all.
It's just about wanting to give a hand to somebody else and just say, I see your beauty. I see it. And I want you to feel it. And that's all I ever want to do. It's just like, oh, it just makes me emotional just thinking about like the experiences that I've had with women over the past couple years. Because it's just like, it breaks your heart. It breaks your heart seeing people feel that way about themselves because there's so much beauty within them. And they can see it. It's just that they've had so many people around them not showing them that. And you have to somewhat get to a place by saying, you know what, like you said before, screw them. Screw the ex-boyfriend who decided to put me down because his own fucking insecurities. Screw him. Because at the end of the day, they should know exactly who they are and why they have a place in this world. We all have a purpose. We all have a voice that should be heard. And that voice comes from love. And if you can exude love to me and walk into a room, that's the thing. Like the ladies that I meet along the way and I have these conversations with, they don't understand how much I get away from it, how much it impacts me. How little me talking about my experiences really helps or puts it out. Like, I don't feel like me telling my experiences is really me straining anything in my life, right? But the knowledge of them telling me their own experiences, that's what helps me. That's what reminds me of my journey.
That's why I love these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
And I also love how it makes you realize how much we are so able to look in the mirror and pick out God knows how many things that we dislike about ourselves. But when you look at someone else, we don't do that. I truly don't. I'm like, wow, you're beautiful. I love your curves. I don't do that to myself. I look in the mirror and I'm like, here goes another day. And I'm trying so hard to work on this. But as I said in your IGTV series, is that I hate that I think I've gotten a lot better at it, but that there used to be such a gigantic correlation between self-worth and my body. Mm-hmm. On days when I felt fit or thin or whatever guy wanted me to look like, if I felt like I was embodying that, or I felt like I was what that character was supposed to look like, or I felt like, I looked great on that red carpet, then I was just better, which sucks because it really, when you think about it, is so scientifically incorrect. Like, it has zero correlation. And I used to do that to myself so much. And I would say, I don't even want to go to the beach today. I would miss out on pool parties and certain experiences or vacations because I was like, when I lose the 5 pounds, when I lose the 10 pounds, why? Yeah. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring because I was afraid to show my body that no one else really is looking at and judging but myself. So that's what I really loved about that exercise, is that you come to find that you usually don't have negative things to say about someone else. Mm-hmm. It's just this self-shaming and this self-bully. I
get it. I mean, I did the same though, in senses, like even going to the beach and stuff. Like, that's why people don't realize my relationship with fashion is so much bigger than just getting dressed in the morning. My relationship with fashion was my way of finding confidence. Mm-hmm. Why I've always been overdressed, or, I go to the beach looking like I'm, walking into a freaking gala. I mean, because I never felt like I was comfortable in a bikini, or I never felt like I was comfortable in a bathing suit. And that's okay. I still sort of feel that way in specific times. But I know that if I can switch the narrative and kind of like zhuzh me up and make it a whole kind of look, it makes me feel good. And I'm like, oh, I love my body. This is great. Yeah. Let's go. It's about finding what works for you, whether that's fashion or not fashion. And it needs to be something where you're speaking within yourself. But for me, to be able to have a better relationship with my physical body, fashion has always been my way to get through it.
Absolutely. And I think that it's very normal. I think it's a balance. It's about acceptance, because self-love is simply acceptance. It's just accepting the good, the bad, the ugly. I say it all the time. And just identifying the bad, throwing it in the trash can, but just acknowledging that was a part of me, and it's okay. It's just okay. We're human. Accepting yourself, but also there are things that you can do to make yourself feel really confident on a day where you're just not having it, no matter how hard you try the self-love thing. It is about finding things that just make you feel uniquely excited, you know, or uniquely you and excited to go to the beach or do whatever it may be. So I love that. And I completely agree. I think fashion is so unique to each person, and that's what makes it so special and individual and exciting. I love seeing, like, the people I look up to in the fashion world always have the most unique, like, strangest fashion, and I love it. I'm like, that is so cool that that person feels confident to just rock that to the grocery store. Like, you know, it's another.
Fashion is a way of expressing yourself without speaking. Yeah. So you're able to tell your personality to somebody by what you wear. It's a label in itself, but a beautiful label to have. And I think, you know, it's the one thing in this world that's universal. It's the one thing that you can connect on. And I think that's why fashion has so much power with making a change within media and also just society's standards of beauty.
Yeah. And do you feel, because I'm not in the modeling industry. I actually just got a modeling agent. I wanted to try it out. We'll see what happens. But I'm not in the industry. And do you see that it's growing in that capacity, or that it's, I shouldn't say growing, evolving? Do you see that the modeling industry is evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I think what people don't realize is you have to appreciate from where we've been and where we've come to. A lot of people, I think, want to just talk about the harping on the negative and that we aren't there yet. Yes, we have a lot more room to grow, but we also have to remember where we started. You know, Ashley Graham's been in this industry for way more years than people actually realize, because Ashley was probably the first person where media really started to take attention. But she was probably in the industry 5 to 10 years before that.
Right.
So, you don't realize is that plus size modeling and curve modeling has always been around. It's just until the last 5 years the media has really taken a hold of it, so people have really understood what that meant. I started out as a plus size model when I was 14, and it made a huge impact in my own idea of body image and self-worth, because my first job that I ever went on was with 3 women who were in their early 20s. I was 14 years old. We were all in swimwear, and their bodies were toned and voluptuous and fit. And I was like, oh, that's what I want. Like, I want that body, you know? And it reminded me that beauty comes in all different shapes and sizes, even if I didn't see it at school, even if I didn't see it in media, even if I didn't see it in campaigns, because I was taught it through the fashion industry. I was taught it that there is different shapes and sizes out there to be appreciated for. So when I would go back to school and people would be like, where have you been? I was like, well, I've been modeling. And they're like, you're a model? And I have to sort of teach them and give them the knowledge that there were plus size models out there, although it may have been uncomfortable because it was a very unfamiliar territory. But I do think we have come to a very beautiful place today. I mean, plus size is obviously now seen more in campaigns, on catwalks. It's not even just about the plus size industry as a whole. It's more about the fact of that we are standing up for equality for all. That's what I always say. Right. Now, let me explain it, for example. So straight size industry and there's a plus size industry. A lot of people always talk about, you know, why do you guys want to have it so segregated? It's segregated for the designer aspect of things. It's segregated because there's a straight size board and a plus size board because of what availability there is out there that you are putting out there for sizes when you are designing a collection. I've designed 2 collections for Nordstrom's with LV, and when we obviously went to go and get models, we had to go to the plus size board. And when we got models, it was all about remembering that there's so many sizes within a size. Like, I was remembered that it's not about you when I had my own collection, because there were models that would walk in and I'd go, oh, I love her. Like, she's a good friend of mine. I want to book her. But she didn't fit within my sample size, so I couldn't book her. So it just reminds you the importance of why there is a straight size board and why there is a plus size board. It really is about
you brought that up.
It's not about the person.
I love that you brought that up, because I was going to say, I respect that so much, and I love that I now understand that better myself. But I also do feel like, as of recently, it's not as segregated. Maybe that I'm thinking high fat, like that's maybe more high fashion, but even just like on the websites that I've been browsing, or the social media fashion platforms that I follow, there's lots of just regular looking girls, you know, girls like I'm a thin girl, but I have curves, and like I'm not some tall washboard abbed model. And I feel like I'm seeing, it's comforting. I'm seeing a lot of women of all sizes that aren't being necessarily categorized as plus size either, which I think is really cool.
It's still a place where I think we've got a lot of room to grow. Like I said before, when you have to remember, when somebody is booking a model, they're booking the model off that sample size. They're booking off of what they have designed rather than booking it off the model correctly. Now, there's brands obviously out there that want to be able to bridge the gap and really give their customer what they're looking for, and to understand that their customer was designed for, no matter what shape or size they are. So those brands are the ones that you see that have, a straight size model and also a curved model, wearing the exact same thing on an e-com site that have both available sizes, so you can really see it and buy off of your own figure. Mm-hmm. It's a whole, there's so many different things to say about the modeling industry, but I think on my end of things, we are in this beautiful space now where high fashion has opened up its doors for curve models, but there still is a very long way to go.
Thank you. Because I literally don't know anything about the industry and questions that I've been asking the past few people. And the second to last one is, does scrolling through social media make you feel better or worse? And why?
Well, I think it depends on who you follow. Mm-hmm. You have the power to follow people that uplift you. And there are a lot of people on social media who can't. So find them. Because I think a lot of people, scroll through social media and feel bad about themselves because they're following people that are living an unrealistic lifestyle, or a lifestyle where they want to sit and compare their own. So if you're going to follow somebody that you maybe aspire to be, get inspiration of finding your own opinions off of what she's doing. Don't try to embody hers. But I think we have this huge power with social media, and there is a positive. There is. Mm-hmm. You can finally find your community. You can finally find somebody that you can relate to, or find somebody that shows you something outside yourself. Find somebody that can teach you something. Get knowledge from another person that's giving it to you just through a post. But yeah, I think if I ever get, sucked into like a suggestions page, I don't follow anybody on my social media I don't know. So that's always kind of been my biggest thing. I never really had.
Yeah, I think my problem has just been the people pleaser Cassie that I am. Yeah. Is following people back, or following pages that I've been asked to follow because I feel bad. And then there are things that aren't really serving me, and it's just about knowing how to say no, which I'm also really trying very hard to be that person, because I just used to be the yes person for so many years.
Look at social media as a place to get validation. You just can't do it. You have to look at social media as a place to get uplifted by other people's opinions, or other people's passions, or other people's knowledge.
Right.
And people who make you feel less than because they have so much in your eyes, don't follow them. Don't look at them. I think when I even go onto a suggestion page and I start kind of scrolling through, it starts just making me have judgments about myself that I didn't even have before I picked up my phone. So why did I just do that? There's no point. Like, I've literally just put myself in a place because of somebody's social media post. I have a whole thing with social media. I fought social media for a very long time. And that's something that was an ongoing conversation within my team, because I always had a very hard time with the idea that a photo defined who I was. Yeah. There's so many layers to who I am. Right. So many. And I don't necessarily know how to, I'm so trained in front of a camera now, either in the acting capacity or hosting capacity, that I don't really know how to turn on a camera and be like, oh, let me show you my funny stuff. You know what I mean? Let me show you something that's candid.
Right.
I'm sometimes I don't know how. I'm put a camera on me. Fine. Take me all day and then post it on my social media. I'd be happy about that. But don't make me then try and put on a show to show somebody my personality. So I've got the idea of that. I don't like how social media can define who we are by a photo. That's why I think lives are so important, or these conversations are so important, because I want people to get to know who we are behind the photo. I wish more than anything in this world that I could have a one-on-one conversation with every person who follows me. I wish they could see who I am. I want that. I don't want people to get a facade or an idea of who I am by a photo.
And it honestly gives me the anxiety of, how do I balance all the things that I am in pictures? You can't fully grasp who Cassie Skirbo is, all the hats I wear and things I love, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of me in a photo. You're just, it's too impossible. But I do just quickly want to reiterate this because I love it so much and it just crossed my mind. I'm going to think about this so much more now moving forward. When I do want to post a sexy picture because I'm proud of it, that sure, no one's going to not like someone saying something kind or something that's uplifting, but the fact that I'm going to first always do it for myself. Like, I love this and this is how I want the world to see me because this outfit is sick, or because I did work really hard on my body this week and I'm proud that I finished that cleanse and this is what I'm looking like. Switching the narrative from I'm going to post this today for validation opposed to I'm going to post this picture because I love it and it'd be really nice to share with other people that follow me.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think that when I post a photo, I literally post a photo because I think I look pretty and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh,
why is it so hard for us to say that?
Post it and I'm like, okay, bye. I like hardly ever really look at my comments until maybe like 5 days later, and I'm like bored. I'm like, oh, maybe,
Yeah.
But, I mean, and I've only just started looking at my comments because I want to re-engage and I want to be able to say
totally
to people taking the time to comment on my page. But I really don't. I don't post a photo for anybody's validation. I don't post a photo for anything in return. I just post a photo to post a photo.
Yeah.
And I think you have to sort of just get to a place of going like social media.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of having such an agenda with it, just post and enjoy. Just enjoy. And if it gets likes, it likes. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Who cares?
Yeah. People can sense when you're just being you. I really feel like people just know when someone's being real. They can smell the bullshit. And the more relatable content I do put out, and the more that I stop trying to live up to all of these things that I am like, ooh, was that too sexy? Because I run a children's charity. Well, like, everyone's going to grow up and be an adult one day and want to have moments where they feel sexy. So like, I can't stress about this. Or like, like, I just cursed and like, how is my church that I follow going to feel? Like, I am still a very spiritual, religious human being. I just think that for me personally, the most stressful thing about social media is trying to balance whatever all of these hats are that I wear and being, all of these different people, trying to be all of the different people that I am on social media. But like, for what? Just be you. It doesn't matter. And I think that that's something that a lot of people that I know do as well struggle with, like, just because we care so much about what other people think or how we're being viewed, or to not let down so-and-so, or how will this person judge me, or how will my charity. Obviously there's boundaries with everything, sure. But at the end of the day, I think if you know in your body, like, I want to put this out into the universe, it's usually you just know that it's correct and it's good, and it doesn't matter what other people think. Like, I think that that's something our generation and the generation younger than us does suffer with, is just posting things for validation, or because they're trending, or they're cool, or this new challenge or that, and comparing ourselves. And I think honestly, the most comments I usually get, or the most things I'm DM'd about, are things like this that really resonate with people. We're on just like on a human level, when I'm having a real conversation, a raw conversation, when I'm being honest. That's when anybody, no matter who it is, whatever end of the spectrum of that person that person is, I feel like that's when it resonates the most with everybody. So I love that. My last question for you, gorgeous lady, is simply, and you can pick whatever age your mind goes to, but what would you tell little Haley? What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self just to trust myself. To trust myself and to know that you're going to be okay, that you're going to survive this, that it's going to be a battle, but you will get through it. We've touched a lot on, before when we've spoken on Redefine You, on why I started Redefine You was because I've dealt with a lot of mental health issues, especially when I was a teenager. And I think there were a lot of dark moments in which I couldn't see the light. And I had a really hard time feeling like I was enough, or feeling like I was loved. And although I look back and I go, you know what, girl, you were your best friend because you got through it. Like, although I was my best friend throughout all of it, because I know that I picked myself back up at moments that I didn't think I was able to. And there were a lot of dark things that happened that I wasn't really allowed to tell anybody about. I just wish that I would have been able to say, trust yourself. Trust everything that you're going through right now, and trust that you know what is right, and that you are so strong and knowledgeable and wise that you will get through this. Because you did. You did. And you're here. And now I've turned all of that struggle and that pain into something else. I mean, that's the whole reason why I became an actor. I knew that God or this universe put me on this planet to tell my pain through another person. Mm-hmm. He made me have these life experiences in a very interesting way that was perceived to other people as a very happy, healthy lifestyle, but in closed doors was very hard.
Right.
Because they wanted me to be able to relate to multiple different people. Because they wanted me to be able to have the empathy for another person and what they may be struggling in that they don't share with you. So I know my purpose, and I know that what I've been through has made me the woman I am now, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't.
Absolutely. I love that so much, and that resonates with me because I feel the same way. I feel like I've been through a lot. I feel like I've been through all the things I've been through so that I can share stories and connect with people on screen and off screen, and for these stories that we're sharing to really resonate and hopefully heal people. I love breaking the silence because I hate how alienated or alone people feel in dealing with certain mental health issues. Because I know I've dealt with my anxieties and OCD and things I've talked about on here. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit, I would love that.
I dealt with really bad anxiety, depression. I had very bad suicidal thoughts as a teenager. And I think a lot of it stemmed from wanting to be heard. You know, a lot of it stemmed from wanting to be heard and wanting to be validated that I was enough and wanting to be validated that I was loved, and trusting that love. And I don't think I was able to necessarily find that. So it was really hard because, you know, when you're dealing as a teenager, when you're dealing with different things that another teenager probably hasn't experienced, we're not at a level yet of understanding to be open and honest about it in a way where we can help each other. So instead, you sort of revert to just not speaking about it, or you then internalize it by making it think that it's your fault when it wasn't. And so I think a lot of those pressures can make you feel like you just want somebody to give you a hug, somebody to let you know you're going to be okay. And I think a lot of my anxiety and depression came from that. It came from wanting to know that I was going to be okay, and that I was going to be able to get through my idea of not feeling like I was enough.
I think a big part of that is just not feeling alone. When you state, I just wish I was heard or wanted a hug, or because when we are young, you're right. For people who do have these feelings at a young age, I started getting panic attacks when I was 14.
Yeah.
You don't know how to explain that to another 14-year-old. They're going to judge you. They're going to laugh. They're going to make fun of you, and it's going to become worse. But I do feel like there are so many amazing outlets nowadays, and there are so many people breaking the silence, like you and so many of my other friends and myself, trying to break these stigmas, because there is nothing, I'm speaking to anyone listening to this, that you are going through or have been through that someone else has not. It's impossible. There are billions and billions of people on this planet. You are not alone. And I just think in those moments, it's weird because your mind doesn't register that. Oh, I'm just feeling alone. You're just like, no, I'm never going to feel better. I'm just broken. There's no light at the end of the tunnel, but there always, always is. And I can promise anyone listening that there is always some form of an answer. There is always, and it is usually just not, finding the right tribe and not feeling alone and finding people to connect to and getting things out of your body, which we also talked about on your IGTV series, writing things down, talking to a therapist. It's not weird at all. I think everybody should have a therapist.
A lot of what I dealt with mental health happened in my teenage years. And then as I got into a young adult and I started traveling the world and I was only my own company throughout my travels for work, I found ways to be able to cope. I found ways to be able to pick myself back up. But when you're a teenager, you don't have that availability to have to put on that hat to be able to see that there's outside of possibilities than what you're stuck in, right? So my encouragement to somebody who is dealing with it, and this is probably the first time I've even analyzed it, because I'm thinking in my head, what would I have done differently to that little girl who was feeling those moments?
Right.
And I would go speak to your family about it. Go speak to your sister about it. Be honest about what you're feeling instead of trying to get attention. Because instead, change the conversation and say, I'm hurting. I'm in pain. This hurts me, or I'm feeling a specific way. Because the more that you get these feelings out, the more it helps heal you, and the more it allows somebody else to understand how they can help heal you. So I think that's the biggest medicine that anybody could have. Even when you talk about now that you've had panic attacks since you were 14, I'm sure it was very scary, and it's a very hard thing to speak about with your friends. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I was open with
a crazy person.
Well, I mean, I was open with my friends about, what I was feeling and who I was and kind of what I was dealing with. But I also had to realize over time that they couldn't be the people to give me the answers that I needed. That the only answers that I needed had to come from myself. And so I had to work really hard at remembering how to find those answers.
Yeah. I think something that was hard for me was just that I felt like I was viewed as this not perfect girl, but the girl that had it all together. I was like a gifted student, and I was I played sports, and I was kind of popular. I was friends with everybody. I wasn't one of those cliquey types of people, but I had a big sister and a big brother that went to the same school. So I was always like taken care of and cool and a skirbo. And I think, I was always very talented in anything I pursued, genuinely. Like I always excelled in anything I had put my mind to. So I think for me, when I started getting panic attacks, which has no correlation to any of the wonderful things that I was, which I didn't understand as a teenager, I thought to myself, I don't want to tell people this, because I'll no longer people will start to think of me as less. I'll no longer be the girl that has it all together and is, talented and smart and kind to everyone. I'll be like this weirdo, which is so untrue, because everybody goes through things. You know what I mean? I just think that people that go through certain things in life at a younger age, I just think you're probably a bit more emotionally advanced and very in tune with your emotions, truly. And there is nothing wrong with anxiety, depression, OCD, ADD, ADHD, Tourette's, whatever it is that you may have, there's nothing wrong with it. And there are so many amazing coping mechanisms, and you just got to get it out of your body. You know what I mean? And some people heal quicker, or it takes them a longer amount of time, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just, we're all built differently, and we've all got our things. So I'm so happy that you touched on that.
We're in a beautiful place now where people are finally talking openly about it. And I think that it's only going to help more kids out there realize they're not alone. When they see somebody like Selena Gomez just came out with, being bipolar. And I'm like, oh, that warmed my heart. Like it just...
Absolutely. I thought that was so incredible of her.
So amazing that she has decided to lend her vulnerability to her following, who are in a younger generation, who now know that if you're categorized as bipolar, you can still be Selena Gomez.
Absolutely.
And I think,
doesn't make you any less.
You want to be able to resonate with somebody else. I would say 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have this conversation in a media outlet. I'm sure you wouldn't either, because
no way.
Be really scared by the fact that if I said X, Y, and Z, that it may be categorized that I'm not fit for my job.
Right.
Well, no, I'm here to tell you that you can be fit for your job and have anxiety and have depression and have suicidal thoughts at moments in your life, but still be able to be that powerful force that you are. So just remember that life does get easier, but you just have to hang in there. You're going to have dark moments. We're all having them. Life, that is just life. Life is going to throw so many different things in our ways, and we're just going to have to, the biggest thing that we can do and the challenge that we're going to face is holding on. But remember, there's so much more light on the other side, and it will come.
Always.
Even if darkness is there for a couple of days, I'm telling you that light will come.
It sometimes feels like it never will, but it always does. I mean, I've been in places where I'm just like, oh my God, this cloud is never going to dissipate. This just feels so heavy. And it always does. And now looking back, I've had some of the best times of my life post the cloud. You know what I mean? And becoming more normalized. I mean, not the fact that people are having suicidal thoughts, but the fact that people are talking about that they have. All of those people are the strongest, most beautiful, people I know that are so courageous because they've just got no fear. Here's who I am. I went through this. I'm open about it. And now I'm here. And they exude the most light and love. And like, I just think that everything you go through in life truly builds your character. And I love the character of the people I know who have been through a lot. And I appreciate their courage and their bravery. And I just love that. Like, whatever you've gone through in the past, like, you could just let it go. It's okay. It's also okay to just not take things so seriously and just say, I had a weird moment in my life and I was thinking this, and I'm human, and here I am now, and I'm here for Cassie today, and we're going to prevail. Like, stop shaming yourself for having the eating disorder, for having the depression, for having the suicidal thoughts. Everybody has their thing, and maybe it's